Hello, probers.
Howdy, howdy.
Welcome to another episode of But It Was Aliens, the extraterrestrial comedy podcast brought to you by two former highly decorated, extremely low-level MIBs. I'm your most decorated host this week, Moonwalker, and joining me as always is Kevin the motherfucking Grey.
Decorated in failure.
Yes, you are. We will be dissecting another probe this week.
Your failure.
Bringing you the ins and outs, the facts and fallacies of the extraterrestrial.
Facts, eh?
Facts.
You're getting me hopeful for this week's episode.
Facts.
Eh?
This week, we're travelling to France.
Gay France!
A small town named Laxou, near Nancy. It's around midday on the 21st of October, back in 82.
Oh no. Is it actually?
It's actually.
Oh gosh. Here we go.
Monsieur Henri was standing in his garden, chilling, throwing a pigskin about a quarter mile.
Should have seen that coming.
The sky was clear that day. No clouds. Bright blue sky. The birds were singing. Squirrels were dancing. Pigskins were flying.
As always, back in 82.
Always. This all came crashing down within moments. When out of nowhere...
Oh, I know when you say out of nowhere, Randy Orton's going to be somewhere. Yep, there he is. Turn the page and Randy Orton is staring straight at me. Can't help yourself, can you?
No. A UFO appeared in the sky. Just appeared. Out of nowhere! Now, when it appeared, out of nowhere, it didn't just stay in the air. It slowly began to descend. Mr. Henri stood there staring at the UFO as it descended. He stood thinking it would pass over him, but it started heading towards him. Mr. Henri shat his pants.
Understandable.
He filled them.
Absolutely filled them. Squelching out of his boots.
As the craft stood 1 meter off the ground in front of him.
Whoa, that's gotten pretty close. If it's come out of nowhere, you'd imagine it's going at speed. So to stop 1 meter from the ground immediately, that's pretty bonkers.
Would you assume it's going at speed, or...
Well, if it's appeared out of nowhere...
Appeared like a tear in the fabric of our dimension. And appeared out of nowhere.
But then it still moved towards the ground if they saw it in the sky, and then it's 1 meter from the ground.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it didn't move towards the ground, but you said if it appeared out of nowhere, it was
going at speed. But
could have just kind of...
It could have popped in, but I'm still saying that it moved at speed to head towards the ground.
Just think of the portal gun.
But they're not saying that it appeared out of a portal 1 meter from the ground.
Stop talking about 1 meter from the ground. I'm talking about out of nowhere.
Who's Mr. Henri? Do we know much about him? Are we going to cover that?
We know that he is a mister. And his surname is Henri.
Yeah. Was he a footballer?
No. This one wasn't.
Okay, he doesn't have my immediate faith then?
How do I put this?
In English, preferably?
There is no way I could... No, forget it. So Mr. Henri describes the UFO as being oval and metallic in nature. But the top of it had a bluey-green tint to it.
Tinted windows, biatch!
He also explains how the craft didn't make any noise at all. It was silent. Was there any heat coming from the craft? No. Was there any radiation coming from the craft? No.
Wee wee.
Deliberately changed that while you were drinking.
Yeah.
But after Mr. Henri went to fetch his camera, and take pictures of this historic event, his camera, which was already a bit battered, jammed.
I need to know how it got battered.
After a total of around 20 minutes, the craft, after doing whatever it needed to do, shot up into the air in a straight line and out of sight.
So it came to 1 meter from the ground. I mean, I'm not fixated on the 1 meter, but it came 1 meter from the ground, did whatever it needed to do,
Yep.
and then shot off. What did it need to do, Jaffel?
How it might have been scanning the area.
Couldn't it have done that from up on high?
Might have been viewing Mr. Henri himself
From a meter away?
from a meter away.
Was there anything suspicious about Mr. Henri? Why would the aliens be interested in him?
Why do you think the aliens would be interested in a person?
Depends on the person.
Mr. Henri.
You've told me that it's a Mr. called Henri. I don't even know if Henri is a first or surname at this point.
Surname.
Do we know what Mr. Henri did for work?
We do not. But we know what his hobbies were, which we will get to.
Okay. So maybe his hobbies made him interesting to the aliens.
That's quite possible.
Maybe he liked golf and he hit one ball really high and far and it clocked on the ship. Bing!
And they were like,
Aliens didn't like that.
Where did
He
that
smashed
come
our
from?
tinted windows. We'd just seen to see Xzibit and get our car pimped. Car? Craft.
pimp my craft. Hey, yo, dog. I'm here to pimp your craft.
I want green windows. Yo, dog, I can put some dope.
I can put a goldfish bowl in there.
Just want green windows. No, dog.
You can have 20 speakers in the headrest. TVs everywhere.
You got a B-day. We want green windows only.
But look, you can have a whale.
He's already installing the whale as he's saying it.
Oh, that was such a fucking weird show. But I loved it.
You got a kitchen in your bathroom.
I wonder what those people have done with those cars since.
Sold them straight away.
They had any sense, they would.
No one needs a washing machine in their car.
You got a popcorn machine in the middle of your car.
Yo, dog. Now when you're watching movies,
You got popcorn.
they didn't install a screen.
Popcorn maker in the front, TV screens are in the back.
You got a toast rack. Didn't put a toaster in.
I heard you like marshmallows.
Yo, dog, you really like gravy? We put a gravy boat in there. It'll help you go fast.
Got a fondue machine. And a disco ball. Yo, I'm sorry, dog.
You're going to have to cut about half hour of us just laughing.
Fucking chest hurts. Mr. Henri sat at home after this event, waiting for his wife. She came back at around 5 p.m. He told her what happened, and then they both took a trip to the police station to report it. Do you think the police took them seriously?
Hell nah.
They did.
Shit.
The police took this matter very seriously and went to the Henri's house to search for evidence. And evidence they found.
No. What did they find?
So in front of you are two pictures of a plant called the Amaranth.
Okay. They look familiar. I possibly have seen them in pictures before. Quite a pinky, colourful plant. So how or in what way were they evidence? I'm assuming these are the evidence.
That's evidence.
Yo, dog! We put a flower patch in your car!
Heard you got green thumbs. You can grow a tree while you drive. Dog.
The tree. We put a tree in your car! The tree grows into the floor and stops the car moving. So how are these evidence? Are you going to cover that, or am I just going to guess?
Pimp my amaranth.
What could you do to an amaranth to pimp it?
Put a disco ball on it.
I should not have asked. Oh my.
How do you think they were?
Is there going to be radiation levels or burn marks on them? Or have they all stripped? Or have they all grown super big? Mutants.
Is that something that would generally happen during a UFO visitation?
Radiation levels potentially
is involved?
I mean, people claim it a lot. I'm not saying whether it's real or not, but
Okay.
They would be my 4 guesses.
The amaranths that were in the garden were taken away. Mr. Henri insisted that they go over the story again, detail by detail.
He insisted it, not the police heard it and were done. He was like, no, I must tell you more.
He went over the story again with the police.
Again?
Everything that we just covered, he went through again. And we got a detailed picture from this as to the trajectory of the craft.
Okay, you've given me some graph. It's in French. The maison.
I mean, what were you expecting it to be?
Well, I just didn't really think, but I recognised these words from school. So we have les maisons and les jardins. It came down and then shot up at about 60 degrees. Okay. I mean, you'd already told me this pretty much exactly. I guess this verifies you weren't lying about the trajectory of the craft. Did it leave any marks in the garden?
What? Like a glitter bar?
No, not like a glitter ball. You open the door to the garden, Xzibit's sitting there. Hey, yo, dog! I'm
It's
here
a disco ball!
This is Pimp Your Garden!
Oh, I really wish I'd put a picture of Xzibit in there. Originally, Mr. Henri thought that the craft was a plane or helicopter at first, until it got closer.
He thought it was a chopper, even though it appeared out of nowhere.
I mean, he thought it was a plane descending slowly.
Until
Like
it
a
got to a
helicopter.
meter away from him. Mr. Henri had very bad eyesight, didn't he?
Oh, wee.
From a distance, you can understand it, but from point blank, it's like a meter away. So, are you going to tell me what happened with those plants they took away, or do we get on that later?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Because at this point, you haven't given me any evidence other than Henri's first-hand account.
I've given you all the evidence, dog.
I don't have anything to support or pick apart. I don't know anything about Henri yet. Who was Henri? What did he do? What were his hobbies? Was he a ufologist? Sorry, a UFO one of those.
You had it right first time.
I know.
For the 20 minutes the craft was there, Mr. Henri didn't just stand there.
He got hard.
He expected a crash, so went into his house and observed from there, before seeing that the craft was still hovering. Then he went and got the camera, which jammed. But Mr. Henri took the time to look under the craft and investigate. He would also describe in more detail how the top of the craft, the bluey-green part, looked more like plexiglass than a metallic alloy. And below is a picture of the craft that Mr. Henri saw.
Looks like the turtle blimp. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I forgot they had a blimp.
Yeah. That blimp was awesome. They used to do a
Heroes in
toy
a
of
half
it.
shell.
Turtle power.
Do-do-do-do-dum-dum.
Shredder! Hey, yo, Krang! I hear you're a brain! They put Christmas tree decorations on it.
Can have a Christmas tree in your container, dog.
They put gold dental work on Krang.
Didn't the robot he's in have an earring?
It may have. I don't really recall. Yeah, there's not really much to... I mean, it's quite almost an educated diagram. There's all sorts of measurements on here. So he's obviously had a bloody good look at it.
You say almost educated.
Well,
What makes it uneducated?
The fact that there's a scribble in the bottom left-hand corner.
That could have been an arrow towards something else.
That ain't no arrow, that's a squiggle.
It's one
The
line.
man's uneducated, damn it. No, it's almost like he's got exact measurements here, and it's almost too much.
He had plenty of time to observe it.
Did he get time to get out his meter stick and his rulers? And
He may have already had them on him. I mean, you don't know what his hobbies are yet.
Okay. I feel like I've got some sort of shot coming up.
As the craft took off, Mr. Henri notices that the grass beneath it stood on end for a few seconds before going back to normal.
That's unusual. Like a suction kind of effect. I'm trying to think, was there a huge... Oh, but then you'd expect the floor to move as well. I was going to say, was there a huge gravitational pull suddenly as it like sipped through dimensions, or whether it used an anti-grav drive?
Dirt and
then
everything would go as well, wouldn't
if it was pulling up, yeah, you expect dirt to go as well, not just the grass. It's very weak effect if only grass was moving. It's just like wind, isn't it? So maybe it flew away and it just had a little brush of wind. Unusual. One question, though, or statement, I don't know if it's going to be a question yet.
Go ahead, dog.
He watched for 20 minutes. We said that this thing moved really, really quickly, and it came out of nowhere,
moved really, really
and then
quickly.
it dropped to a meter away.
I never once mentioned how quick it moved.
It's less impressive now.
Maybe it got pimped and there's too much stuff in it for it to move quickly.
Yeah.
There's a whale in there, damn it.
Yo, dog. Yo, dog, you got a whale? Let's put some gold on that whale. Gives it gold earring. My throat is actually starting to hurt with that voice now. Hey, yo, dog.
Now, this is the part of the probe where we turn to science and skepticism. Why did no one else see the craft?
That hadn't even occurred to me. We've got one witness.
Mr. Henri's garden was walled off on all sides by either plants, trees, fencing, or walls from other buildings. And this was also noted in the police report.
Is this the police report?
That is an artist's sketch of what he saw.
Okay. They've made him look like a damn robot. He's got Cyclops
Freaking laser beams.
Yeah, lasers coming out of his eyes. It's just a diagram of the garden, but they've included the chap, Henri, with laser beams, it looks like, coming out of his eyes to illustrate his field of vision.
The craft made no sound, which is something we have heard of time and time again across multiple probes, so we can't dismiss this scientific fact. Tests were done on the grass to see what would cause such an effect. Lots of tests were done, but the one that made the grass act this way were very intense electric fields, which suggests a possible strong burst or wave of electric energy to propel the UFO upwards. We're now going to get to the flowers, which were taken away as evidence. These flowers looked as if they were dehydrated, and some nearby fruit looked as if it had been cooked. But the roots of the plants were that of healthy ones, so whatever happened to them happened from above. We now take a look at Mr. Henri himself. Mr. Henri, if that is his real name, wanted to be kept anonymous.
So it's probably not his real name.
He had no interest in UFOs, the extraterrestrial, or science fiction. Every detail that he told the police was checked and scrutinized, and what they found is that he was telling the truth the whole time. This guy is both honest and trustworthy.
Oh no, you've dropped it.
So to summarize...
Whoa, 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 whoa. I thought we were going to cover his hobbies.
Oh, he liked gardening.
So all the evidence backs it up, but we've only got one witness, basically.
Yep.
Okay.
So to summarise, Mr. Henri, whilst in his garden, saw a UFO appear out of nowhere, then descend towards him before hovering for 20 minutes and then shooting into the air and disappearing. He reported it with his wife and the police came to check and take evidence. They did that and they found some. Tests were done in labs to corroborate Mr. Henri's story or to prove how the things he said could be done, which they did and concluded that he must have been telling the truth. This is an honourable and trustworthy man. What say you, grey nuts?
Do we know what the weather was like at this point?
It was a clear day.
So it's quite
Blue
sunny.
skies.
Yeah. Is it possible that the flowers were dehydrated because it was a hot day and he hadn't watered the grass? He was too busy. The only thing that's coming to mind is jacking it. I'm sorry. The man lived by himself.
He had a wife.
Did he? Where was she the whole time?
At work.
The man was jacking it. Striking whilst he had the opportunity. Reading those garden and mags.
Do you reckon they were her flowers and he just was like, fuck your flowers?
He loved the garden so much he didn't want anything of hers in there. It's all his. And she put some flowers down. So he created this whole elaborate story to get rid of the flowers. And you said some fruit looked like it has been cooked as well, which I divert back to my comment moments ago. Is it possible it was just a sunny damn day?
Possible.
Do you want me to conclude?
I want you to conclude.
I'm not saying that it was aliens. There's not enough witnesses for this one, and I feel like there could be other reasonable explanations for the evidence found. We don't know enough about this chap or the circumstances, and there doesn't seem to have been that detailed a testing on the evidence either to indicate that this is definitively aliens. And without that, it's hard to conclude any other way. And you called him honest and trustworthy, which is only a step away from honourable and trustworthy.
I think I called him honourable.
Oh, I thought you said honest.
I might have done at one point, but also said honourable, I think.
Yeah, you tarnished him, and you knew what you were doing. There's no way you're concluding on this one with a yes.
So,
he concludes with it. I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens!
there is not enough evidence against the fact that it couldn't be aliens for me.
That's a complicated sentence you've chosen.
So, I'm going to say it was aliens.
You're laughing as you say it. You've done that purely to get me to react.
No, I haven't.
It's merely a flesh wound.
No, I haven't, dog.
I've got to pimp up your podcast. Not enough conclusions with a yes for me.
No, honestly, although there is not enough evidence here to dismiss it, there's also not enough evidence here to prove it.
Yeah.
Just because the plants were dehydrated, they could have just been dried out from the heat of the sun, like grey nuts over there mentioned. And the same with the fruit. They could have just been in an area of the garden that was hit by more sunshine than normal, and they got slightly cooked. We have no idea what else was in his garden. He may have had some glass type material on there which acted as a magnifying glass and just cooked the fruit. Although he didn't want any publicity from it, I also think it could have been just not him making it up. I don't know. But it's just not enough.
Yeah.
There's not enough for me to say it was aliens. So I'm going to have to say this was not aliens.
Why haven't they scanned him for radiation?
Dog. I don't know. I mean, if it was, they would have checked, like you said, him, the garden, everything for radiation, plot where it landed or didn't land, hovered. Probably would have taken soil samples and checked those.
If they were taking it that seriously, they could have done more, couldn't they?
Yeah. So, thank you for joining us for this week's Probes.
You're welcome.
You can find... Probes? This week's Probe?
Yo, I've got a second part!
You can find us on Facebook at But It Was Aliens. Our Facebook group is Extraterrestrial Towers. You can find us on Instagram at But It Was Aliens Podcast. And we are on Twitter at But It Was Aliens. And you can also find us on patreon.com/but it was aliens. Dawg. As always, I've been Moonwalker, and he has been Gravy.
Xzibit, yo!
And we are But It Was Aliens. Remember, the truth is up there. #probe.
Probe, dog!
Dawg. I'ma pimp your ride,
Oh,
dawg.
my throat hurts.